President Bola Tinubu has approved the indefinite suspension of Salijo Ahmad, Managing Director and CEO of the Rural Electrification Agency, alongside 3 executive directors of the agency from office. Ajiri Ngelale, the presidential spokesman, said the suspension is in the light of new findings unearthed during a comprehensive investigation into the financial activities of the Rural Electrification Agency. Also suspended are Olani Netufo, Executive Director, Corporate Services, Baraka Saju, Executive Director, Technical Services, and Sadatu Balgore, Executive Director, Rural Electrification Fund. The statement said the president has ordered a wider investigation into the conduct of the aforementioned officials in a fraudulent mis-expenditure amounting to over 1.2 billion naira over the past 2 years, some of which has already been recovered by anti-graft agencies. To have this conversation and joining us over the phone with us today is Dr. Dayo Kayode, a political technocrat. Good morning, Dr. Dayo. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning. How are you today? My pleasure being with you on this platform this morning.
All right, quickly, Dr. Dayo, let us take a look at the president's decision to suspend the CEO and chairman of the Rural Electrification Agency and some other members of the committee in that, of course, industry. The Rural Electrification Agency has been around for a while, even though most rural areas in Nigeria still do not have electricity. But it's looking like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has come to look into why that is. First of all, let us get your reaction to the president's decision to suspend these gentlemen. How do you react to that?
Yes, what extent has this agency been effective since inception? When you look at it, this means how many of the rural areas have been electrified ever since? Two, are we saying we have not been experiencing fraudulent activities in that particular agency before now? How much have been budgeted in the past till today? And how much have been expended and on what? Again, looking at the suspension, I want to say that it seems as if it is only those that are falling apart with government that are often indicted here and there. And at the end of the day, when they go back to beg, to Dobale, then they will be forgiven. Better Edu is a good case in this respect. What has happened to Better Edu since our suspension? What has happened to Magu since the time it was being proved? What has happened to those that were involved in NDDC fraud, whereby we heard of off the mic, off the mind? What has happened to them? To that extent, I'm not really giving to it whether somebody is suspended or not. Again, I look at it as perhaps those people were just being used as scapegoats to be able to create employment for political patronage. Because I still don't know what has qualified the son of Ganduje, the popular Gandola that we know, who is the present chairman of APC. I don't know what has qualified his son to be a director in that particular agency. So these are the ways I viewed it when I read about the case.
All right, like they say, there is no smoke without fire. So when you say that persons who, like this man now being mentioned, and of course other key members in that particular sector, have had their approval suspended by the president, are you saying that they have fallen, fallen out of the president in terms of relationship, and as such, That is why they are being sent out? Or is there a financial impropriety that has been, you know, found in their own custody that has led to their suspension? You are now giving us an example of the Better Edu was suspended. Are you saying now that persons who do not align with the president's vision or ideology tends to be shown the way out? Is that what you're saying right about now?
Yes, you see, Josh, not that about it, as we were told, EFCC has recovered part of that money. Okay? But my own question here is, where is this money situated now, presently? How about other monies that have been seized from government officials in the past? Where are also those money? It has always been a situation of Olega. That is, some people who are stolen. Some other people will collect the money from them, give it away, I won't hear anything about it again. So, why should I allow that one now to keep on bothering my head? Instead of me to be looking for how to survive. Now, we are complaining that people are suffering. But meanwhile, very few people are looking for how to corner money here and there. Here and there. Is it because some people are not properly settled? That's why they are not bringing them up, and then you are not collecting the money from them. After collecting the money, what do you do with the money? These are issues for me. Are you returning that money back to the agency to provide electricity for the rural people, for the rural populace? These are issues.
All right, but if you remember,
at the end of the day.
All right, but if you remember, earlier in his administration, I'm talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he said that those who are going to make up his cabinet members are going to be watched strictly, and anyone found wanting will be shown the way out. Don't you think this is a way of the president keeping to his words? And of course, what happens thereafter is yet another issue, especially with regards to the funds that have been found in private accounts. Don't you think it's a way forward, first of all, by suspending these persons so that those activities will not continue? Don't you think it's a way forward?
You might say yes. You might say it is a way forward. But the question is, how many of those people are being indicted? Listen, there have been a lot of allegations against some other people still in that government, especially in the presidency. How many of them have been queried?
It still falls within the realm of allegation, don't you think so?
How many of them have been queried?
It still falls within the realm of allegation.
This is a better I do. Some people were being indicted. Where are those people now? Have they been arrested? Some people have been indicted. Where are they today? Have they been arrested? So for me, I don't see it as choice. They are just choosing who and who they are to get implicated or whatever. Not that they are doing what they are supposed to do. Let us know where we're heading to.
Dr. Dayo.
Let the cleaning start from your house. Let the cleaning start from your house.
In your earlier submission, Dr. Dayo, can you hear me? Please, let's make the most of our time. Let's make the most of our time. In your earlier submission, while you were analyzing the REA, the Rural Electrification Agency, you did ask a question. You said how much has this agency been able to achieve since it was since its inception? You know, how much have they been able to do? A lot of rural areas across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria still wallow in darkness with no electricity, and that's a question that deserves an answer. Do you not think that that is part of the platform on which the president is standing to take this type of decision? I mean, millions of funds has been put into this agency to help give electricity to the entire nooks and crannies in the country, and yet that has not been achieved for over the good number of years that this agency has been in existence. You don't think that is reason enough to probe and suspend the leaders in this agency?
talking about the extent to which they have been able to electrify our rural areas. You have to first of all look at it from the perspective of where you even come from, your village in Imo State, or your village in Abia State, or your village in Cross Rivers. How many of them there are having electricity? Even at fine, let us come to Lagos here, where we all are. Come to Koba, go to Abatikio, go to Ijiroko, go to Ijioro, and all those local areas. How many of them are having light there? Excuse me. There's this friend of mine that was saying last night that he always take his power bank to where there is light to charge. Because in his area, in Lagos here, there haven't been light for the past 3 months. So, tell me, the Rural Electrification Agency, to what extent has it been able to achieve what it's supposed to achieve? Rather, they just create these agencies, they put their cronies there, and they're embezzling money. Tell me, what is the Ganduje son going to do where is he placed now? Tell me. What is Odo doing where he is? To what extent has Badabia Miller done what he's supposed to be doing as the chief of staff? Have we not been hearing of series of allegations against these people? And these are the things that are happening everywhere. Or who have been apprehended. Look at the Nigerian Railway Corporation. We heard about that they were doing ticket racketeering the other time. How many of them have been apprehended? How many? Why? Because they have been settling those people that they are supposed to settle.
All right.
Look at what is also happening in our immigration. Look at what is happening in our immigration. These are issues that need to be taken seriously and holistically so that our country can move forward.
All right, Dr. Dyer, our time is up. Thank you so much for your submissions and, of course, giving us your time this morning. Of course, this situation, the suspension had just happened. It is yet to continue to unfold, and we hope to bring you all the details and hoping to have you here as well to talk about it eventually.
I hope that will not end up as better educate and that of Margo and that of the mic. Anyways, my pleasure being with you this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dyer. We always keep our word. You will definitely be here. That was Dr. Dyer Kayode joining us over the phone to talk about the Rural Electrification Agency and, of course, the President's decision to suspend the Ahmad Saijo, of the Managing Director, and some other members of his cabinet. Josh, just before we quickly end this segment, Dr. Dyer did make some serious submissions that are very obvious and glaring, and these are questions, like you said, these are issues that needs to be looked into. The Rural Electrification Agency dates back as far back as Goodluck Jonathan's administration, if I'm not exaggerating, right? And it seemed like a breath of fresh air. I mean, that was the slogan at the time. And it was going to be very beautiful to finally have light in the villages. If you were going to go to the village, then you would be very worried. Among so many other things is the ability to connect to town eventually, because you need your phone charged and all. And that was a nightmare. It still is. Some communities still do not have electric poles, not to talk of connections or light. And at this point, I think it is long overdue that this happened. I know that some people would have their doubts. It was going to end up like every other story we've heard in the news recently. But it's good to see that something is being done. But what's your reaction? Yeah,
I really share your sentiment, because I have been in the villages way back, and I know how, discomforting it is sometimes. You have to go maybe to a town where you charge your phone for hours before you return back home, and you're very much careful about what you do with your phone so that you don't return back
managing
again
the
and all
battery
that.
life.
It has always been very, very traumatizing, especially looking at that experience. And it's not even surprising. How about us living in the cities in Lagos here? There are some places in Lagos here that have not experienced light for months, and they've been living their lives as normal, like it's a normal thing. But then, looking at the situation of things, I think it might begin to make us have some level of hope with the way these things are unfolding, especially looking at how much have been invested in making sure that rural areas are electrified, and certain persons who occupy certain capacity to make things happen might, as it were, because investigation is still ongoing, have misappropriated funds. And now this is unfolding, and let's see how, you know, like the president will do much words with action. So beyond just suspending these ones, can they be tried? And of course, if tried and found wanted, aside from throwing them behind bars, can they also refund or return some of those monies that have been stashed away, you know, due to such kind of misappropriation? And let's see how things get, you know, reshaped, so that whoever that will occupy that particular capacity will be able to make sure that these areas are electrified. Because don't forget, activities are going on in those areas. There are farming activities, there are markets. People need to do their petty businesses.
And development is catching up with a lot of them,
Of course. So there is a need for us to have electricity in these areas. And that in itself will spur a lot of us in the cities to always go back home. And once you go back home, you can imagine the economic activities that would, you know, revamp when people come back home, especially to reunite with their families. Things will move on. So please, they need to do more, especially in that particular sector, that rural area, because for a while it has been neglected.
It has been neglected. Really while we agree that electricity generally has been an issue in the country, I mean, even as at today, I know some. Even
in the Aso Villa.
Exactly.
So
I was going to say, you know, so I know some really areas that are, you know, highbrow areas. Areas that you would describe as highbrow. They've not seen light in a month, in up to a month, weeks and weeks, and nothing is being said. Everybody's minding their business.
In my area, can I tell you what happened? Like between Saturday and Monday, we never had light. We were almost scared.
You don't want to hear my story.
Because the water supply ran out, and it's about 6 flats, and then everyone has to take turn to use their generator just to pump water.
Wow.
I pity those who are carrying large families. For me, I can manage up myself, at least have some reservoir around me, but it was really painful for just 2 days. Imagine people who have been out of power for 1 month, 2 months. Man.
It's never really a nice situation to be in. Really, the national grid collapsing here and there is telling on everybody. Really, but I must also say that, you know, it's high time people in places of authority, people in positions, begin to understand what it means to be held accountable and start answering questions. It's good to see that this is not, I must say that this is not, we've not had it like usual in so many levels. I must also say that. But we've not had it like usual in the sense that some questions are being asked, questions we never knew could be asked, and they're being asked, and you know, we're seeing action. I really hope they take it further and we get better results. iBrand Daybreak, this is where we close it on this segment, but we're not leaving you yet. We'll be getting into the market to bring you as it is trending. Of course, one of the trending stories on the newspaper review this morning is how that food is taking a huge bite into Nigerians' wallets, and that is...
It may get worse. You know why? Food production comes from the north, and as they move into the fasting period more, of course, more farmers will be out of work.
Of course.
They won't be going to the farm. So what will happen to people in the south?
It's about to be a long month, because Ramadan lasts for an entire month. And
I hope people don't resort to crime when there's no food. I
really hope that's not what will happen. It was also in the news this morning, the border closure. This border has remained closed for years now, for a very long time. I mean, we've been able to cross into another administration, and the border is still closed.
Yes.
Why?
They say it's because of to curtail armed proliferation into the country. But beyond armed proliferation, are there not other things that comes into the country that adds to the economy?
And there are other ways you can mitigate armed
Can we just look holistic? It's just one way, and it's affecting every other thing, honestly.